7550. That's 800-420-7550. 800-420-7550. Hero Medication Management.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
The Department of Indian Work partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Now you can call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can also schedule a free COVID-19 vaccine at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. Appointments are available for residents 16 years of age and older. Vaccines are available to certain residents of Hennepin, Ramsey, Anoka, and Dakota counties. Call the Minnesota American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986 to find out when you can get your free COVID-19 vaccination. Appointments are available April 16th through June 19th. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 32. Thursday sunny with a high near 63. Friday partly cloudy with a high near 55. And Saturday sunny with a high around 51. Is estate planning still on your to-do list, or are you overdue for an update? Get started today with Schromen Law in St. Paul. Call 651-571-2515 or visit schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahare.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You can call them at 651-304-9986, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Hey, we got a big show here, Wendy. We have Robert Lilligren on today because tomorrow we're doing the 2-hour live symposium all over Turtle Island on AM 950.
For Earth Day.
That's right. Honor the Earth is going to be co-hosting this, and we're going to have music, guests, and we're just going to be so excited about just honoring water and clean water and Mother Earth.
I'm excited about it.
And today, too, we have we're going to have Robert Lilligren of NADKI, which is Native American Community Development Institute, and Solar Bear own Robert Blake with the Solar News. And so it's a jam-packed day. So I wanted to get going here, but you got some awesome news.
I just have a really good news to give you. So last week I walked by a big box pet store supply company, and they had around the perimeter of their building, they had those boxes that are poison. So the rodent goes in, eats the poison. It's an anticoagulant, which is a blood thinner, and the animal leaves and slowly dies. But it's right next door to the Mississippi River, literally, and right down the street there's an eagle's nest with 2 eagles. So I called the manager at this pet store, supply store, and told them my concern that we have so many raptors there because of the Mississippi River, and that you're going to be poisoning also our raptors, and I'm very concerned about this. So we went back and forth a couple of times, and I was always very respectful and helpful and talked with the manager there. But I got a message today, and she said that the poison control company came and removed all the boxes, and she said, thank you for your concern and making this aware to us. We were unaware of this. We will do better. So I am so thrilled.
When I hear that term,
just
I wanted to cry when you told me that.
We will do better. I am really so happy, and that I just want to let everyone know that if you see anything that you feel concerned about, make it known, make some phone calls, send some emails, and you could get stuff done. So I'm thrilled, and I'm really happy about it.
Hey, when you said that, Wendy, it reminded me of these young warriors that videotape live George Floyd's murder. When you say that, we have to be active and activated.
Absolutely, we do have to be activated.
Wow, thank you so much, really, with that great news. So that's all you have today. You can
That's
get off
it.
now.
I'm relaxed. I'm just here to have some fun.
Yeah. So one of the things I got to say before I go to Ogama, thank you, Wendy. I remember her name. Ogama, with the news, that she talks about news that you don't hear normally on progressive radio or any radio all across Turtle Island. So we're really excited to have Ogama every day. And I just want to give a shout out to Devil's Radio and the Devil's Advocate show. I was on there and had some fun, and we were promoting the Honor the Earth, Honor the Mother Earth event that we're going to do live on commercial free.
Fantastic.
On their station too. So let's get to Ogama with the news. Pinigigi Ogama.
Hey, Anine, Miigwech, Robert, and Wendy. I'm so proud of you. That is fantastic news, and I agree with you completely. And I really hope that if a big box pet store can say we will do better when it comes to rat poison, that gives some hope for the city of Minneapolis and the police system that's happening right here today. That's my piece. Launching into some news today. Yes, we are doing a commercial-free 2-hour Earth Day event with Honor the Earth, and it is going to be the radio debut of the song No More Pipeline Blues, which features Winona LaDuke, the Day Sisters, Joy Harjo, who is the 23rd Poet Laureate of the United States, Bonnie Raitt, the Indigo Girls, and so many other awesome artists. It's really going to be a great show. We've also got Chastity Brown and another couple of other artists that are coming on, and really great speakers. It's going to be a good show. Again, that's tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be live commercial free on AM 950 on 92.7 FM in Madison, and also known as the Devil's Advocate Radio. So we're pretty excited about
I'm looking forward to Bonnie Raitt. She's one of my favorites.
Right on.
Yes, it's going to be good.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We were supposed to be secretive about that, but that's going to be super awesome.
So,
yeah.
on the note of getting hope for the Minneapolis police state, there is a National Day of Action, Justice for All Families march and rally happening Saturday at 1 p.m. in St. Paul. What they're going to do is march from 1120 University Avenue West to the Governor's Mansion in St. Paul. They want to center the voices and demands of the families who have been out fighting for justice for their loved ones and for all justice for all people who have been killed by police violence. In the wake of the guilty verdict of Derek Chauvin in the murder of George Floyd, just as that was happening, it was announced that a 15-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant was murdered at the hands of an Ohio police officer on the same day. The video footage came out and showed that she was wielding a knife and possibly attempting to stab 2 other women. But Micaiah's family said that she was trying to protect herself from the two girls who were physically assaulting her. Brian's aunt says the shooting took place next to the foster home where the teenager was living, and she had called the police and grabbed a kitchen knife to defend herself after several adult women had started an altercation with her. The video footage of that is just as heartbreaking as any other footage you're going to see if you haven't seen it yet. The officer doesn't even ask her to drop the weapon, he just opens fire. She was taken to the hospital and later died from her injuries.
Yeah.
Is awful. Meanwhile, this afternoon, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, announced that they're going to have a Department of Justice probe into the Minneapolis city policing practices. So things are changing, but they're changing slowly, and we got to make sure to keep, the voices centered around the families who are suffering from police violence. And nobody deserves to die that way. So.
Right. Well, you got to remember too, and I'm sorry to cut into your news, is that, the Attorney General of Minnesota put full forces on this case, and that's not going to happen in every case. That state attorney generals are going to have their best and brightest big crew doing it, so we have to stay vigilant. Sorry, Ogama, go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. I want to duck into kind of an update on what's happening with Enbridge. So, tax decisions that were made years ago on the Enbridge pipeline by the Minnesota Department of Revenue could put a financial strain on the counties that receive revenue from the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. So, last month, Minnesota Tax Court made a decision in favor of Enbridge, who brought this case forward, and they argued that they had been overtaxed for several years by the Department of Revenue. In the decisions, the Minnesota Department of Revenue was found to have overvalued the company's pipelines from 2012 to 2016. And now the counties that are affected by that might have to pay that back. Aiken, Beltrami, Carlton, Cass, Clearwater, Hubbard, Itasca, Kitson, Marshall, Pennington, Polk, Red Lake, and St. Louis counties could owe money back to Enbridge for allowing that pipeline through. Meanwhile, Beltrami County Commissioner Reed Olson is backing legislation that would make it so counties are held harmless, which means that then falls to all of us in the state of Minnesota. So if you want to know what Enbridge is up to, that's what they've been up to. This has been in litigation for several years and is really a great concern to local governments. And here they are having to fight the same pipeline that a lot of these small counties were so excited to have. It's really just blowing my mind, Enbridge.
Yeah, well, and prayers out to everyone. Our fight is not over, but it's just beginning. Peony Gigi for that news, and happy Earth Day Eve. And also, I want to throw a quick happy birthday to Tara Hauska. Her birthday is today.
Happy birthday, Tara.
Yeah, big water protector. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and it's going to be the Robert Show. We're going to have Robert Lilligren up, and then Robert Blake up
and
next.
You're Robert Pilot.
Right.
Wow.
Or Wakunjahade. Hey, up next, Robert Lilligren with Nadke. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
The Department of Indian Work partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Now you can call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can also schedule a free COVID-19 vaccine at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. Appointments are available for residents 16 years of age and older. Vaccines are available to certain residents of Hennepin, Ramsey, Anoka, and Dakota counties. Call the Minnesota American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986 to find out when you can get your free COVID-19 vaccination. Appointments are available April 16th through June 19th. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
The University of Minnesota Duluth Department of American Indian Studies is accepting applications for the Master of Tribal Resource and Environmental Stewardship. With this degree, you'll develop the skills to help tribal governments manage natural resources and navigate the legal, cultural, and political contours of tribal sovereignty. And you can take all the courses online. To apply for the fall 2021 Masters of Tribal Resources and Environmental Stewardship at Minnesota Duluth, visit umdmtrees.org. That's umdmtres.org.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are the Calusa Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You can call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you don't need to live in the Twin Cities or Minnesota to call them.
Yeah, it's been a very successful campaign here on Native Roots Radio, and we appreciate helping them out and all the work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to give a special shout out to Robert Lilligren for coming in today and turning it into the Roberts Show. We have Robert Blake up next. And also his flexibility, because tomorrow we're doing that 2 hours of commercial free with Honor the Earth and all those great artists that Ogama mentioned. So Pini Gigi, Robert, for stopping in. Plus, I think it's really great that you're stopping in so we can touch base a little bit about the Minneapolis vibe yesterday. I heard and watched so many things. Down by the courthouse, I heard they were chanting, "Whose land is it?" and everyone's yelling "Native land" and things like that. Solidarity really go a long way. Welcome, Robert.
Yeah, bonjour, Robert, Wendy, Ogama. Thanks for having me, and happy to shift my schedule around. I'm glad you're doing that focused programming tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. And we're always really excited to hear from you. But I know I really feel like you're the heartbeat and know what's going on in Minneapolis and the vibes that are going on. We feel them all the way over here in St. Paul, but we want to get a firsthand what you feel and think and saw yesterday and how you feel today.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Gee, which I don't know that I got the heartbeat here, but I like to stay informed and stay involved, and I would kind of back up a little. I think leading up through what happened when the verdict was announced yesterday, and the whole trial was really taking its toll on the community here, and you could see it when you're out in the community. People just seemed like traumatized, leading up to the verdict. I would be in sort of just regular mundane kind of business kinds of meetings, and people would break down and weeping. It was really taking its toll, and watching these witnesses on the stand, it was churning up this trauma that people had experienced. And for me, and I saw it in others as well, as we got closer to the verdict, I think there was this real sense of dread here. I think there was a feeling that if this goes wrong, things could get really bad here in Minneapolis and in the Twin Cities overall. I'm guessing you guys felt some of that as well.
Oh, heck yes. Heck yes.
And we knew what we saw. We knew he should be found guilty, but we've been living in this upside down world, and we really can't count on the truth. So it was very nerve-wracking.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Like a great cloud, Robert,
Yeah.
was over our head
during
all that.
It was, and my organization, NACD, Native American Community Development Institute, was part of a partnership here in the Native community in South Minneapolis around what we call the Protectors, the Little Earth Protectors and the Little Earth Community, the American Indian Cultural Corridor, and AIM Protectors along East Franklin. And we had been supported by the city of Minneapolis, who was trying to be a little more proactive this time around and prepared for civil unrest and to really invest in community-based, community-driven safety strategies. And so we'd done all this planning. We'd worked with other people of color and indigenous. Well, we were the sole indigenous group, but around the city there were 7 of these initiatives. So we were getting all ready, and then, we get this notice that the verdict's coming down yesterday. We get this these messages between these protector groups, assemble your teams, and everyone was kind of ready, and then just on edge watching that verdict come down and just hanging on every word of the judge, Judge Cahill. And when it came down, it was such a relief. And most people I've talked to today or yesterday even just broke down. It was just, I don't think we were aware of how heavy that cloud was that you were talking about until it went away.
Yeah, Wendy cried, definitely.
I was crying, then I'd stop, and then, I'd see somebody on TV talking about how they felt, and then I'd cry again, and then I'd stop, and then it was just
we had a
crazy.
couple people over. We won't say who they are, but one of them's a native photographer taking my picture. And we just stopped the photo shoot and
Watch the verdict.
Watched the verdict.
And we all cried.
Yep.
We all cried.
Everyone did. That's what people were talking about today. They broke down in tears, and even leading up to it, it was just, everyone was I was on the edge of my seat, and just you could tell this is one of those significant moments, that as we go forward in our lives, you'll always remember where you were.
Right. And it's interesting, Robert, because the only officer in Minneapolis, am I right to hear that's been convicted of any kind of murder or anything was an African American police officer? Is that right?
I'm assuming that's the only one. I think that was Officer Noor a few years ago. So that they're saying this is the first time a white officer has been convicted of killing a black man, a black person, and so it's significant. It's significant, and it's going to have reverberating impact, and it feels like, and we felt these before, but it feels like one of those movement moments, sort of the next step in civil rights conversation since George Floyd was murdered.
I think it was really significant that the president called the family. Keith Ellison was. I was proud that he was our attorney general.
You're here.
Say it was an amazing day.
It was, in a horrible and tragic situation. It was the best possible outcome. And it doesn't mean that our work is done. I spent my day today in these heavy conversations about unsheltered homelessness and opioid use and hard to solve issues like that. But it does feel a little like a new day, especially here in Minneapolis. I would have dreaded to see what the city looked like today had the verdict been different.
Absolutely. One of the things too that Keith Ellison brought up that we talked a little bit about, Wendy had a little story in the beginning of the show about a company here that kind of stepped it up after she called them out. And these warriors that were videotaping this happening, I mean, that means so much. And then that's the thing that, when you read the report, this poor guy, the cop was trying to save him, if you read the original report.
Right. Yeah. Very different stories that came out from the Minneapolis Police Department at first. And then as, in this smartphone age, we're all going to see it. And so as we got to see it, I think the prosecution's first question or first direction to the jury, believe your eyes, believe what you saw,
right.
And they did.
And hopefully it's the beginning, Robert, because I remember by mistake watching Castillo die on Facebook.
Oh, right.
Popped up and that was live too. So we still have to be vigilant.
very vigilant. And, so the protectors last night, there was more a sense of celebration around Minneapolis and spontaneous celebration, demonstrations, but peaceful, celebratory. The native protectors on Franklin on the American Indian Cultural Corridor met at the Powell Grounds parking lot, the coffee shop parking lot at NACD's buildings, and they did a pipe ceremony. They invited pipe holders. I think 6 pipes showed up, and so they ended up in sort of a prayerful night and giving thanks instead of having to protect our people and our assets.
Yeah, I know, and I know Ogama came down all the way from Brainerd to protect the corridor, her and her significant other, and I think people from all over. So, and I know people were willing to do it again. So that's what's amazing, and that's also a cause to celebrate that they didn't have to do it again this time.
Agree.
Yeah. So, Robert, we got a couple minutes, and do you mind holding over for another few minutes into that segment, or do you got to get going?
No, I'd be happy to. I would love to sort of talk about what's next. We have this Department of Justice, this DOJ involvement here, and so that's going to mean something. So I won't mind having a word about that.
But I'm glad, and we got a couple minutes to, and then we'll ask you back for a good half a segment, and then we'll get to Solar Bear with Robert Blake from Red Lake. I always like saying that. I don't know what's wrong with that. Like the rhyme, I think that's my rapping. But I just feel like relieved, but I also feel like we still have to stay on top of things, and that's why it's really important that people like you are on the show, and that we're out in Chicago, we're out in Madison speaking our truth, because I know not that long ago in 1993 we had Native Americans thrown in a police officer's trunk and taken to the hospital from a bar, and then we also American Indian movement started it on Franklin.
Right. And that kind of police behavior has been continuing. My first year on the Minneapolis City Council, there was the famous case of the officers who allegedly urinated on someone that they were restraining, and that caused a huge uproar. And so we have a tough history and a tough relationship with the police here, but again, hopefully it's a new day.
And I think we're just about to the segment, but I really just have to give you a shout out, and a lot of the people that are the leaders that have come to age in the 70s and 80s that are coming to age, and we have another group of indigenous people like Ogama and young people that are stepping up, and even really younger ones that were former high school students. So the future's looking bright, and they speak their mind, and we're really proud of them.
Hear, hear.
We'll be right back with Robert Lilligren. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We'll be right back, Wendy.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, the morality of algorithms.
Machine learning algorithms are all around us these days.
They're being used for everything from movie recommendations to sentencing in criminal courts.
But can algorithms really be objective when they're created by human programmers?
How can we resist immoral and biased algorithms?
The morality of algorithms. Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. on AM 950.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN 350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Not only does Rudy Luther Toyota have a great selection of new vehicles, but Rudy Luther is also one of the largest volume Toyota certified used vehicle dealers in the country. They have better prices than many non-certified dealers, offer the 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and all their vehicles go through a comprehensive inspection and reconditioning process. And they pay you top dollar for your trade-in, even if you didn't buy your vehicle from them, or if you're not going to buy your next vehicle from them. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
The Department of Indian Work partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Now you can call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can also schedule a free COVID-19 vaccine at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. Appointments are available for residents 16 years of age and older. Vaccines are available to certain residents of Hennepin, Ramsey, Anoka, and Dakota counties. Call the Minnesota American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986 to find out when you can get your free COVID-19 vaccination. Appointments are available April 16th through June 19th. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
You've heard the screamers, you've heard the shouters. Well, now it's time to listen to a real conversation. Now it's time for The Rick Unger Show.
Weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. on AM 950.
The University of Minnesota Duluth Department of American Indian Studies is accepting applications for their Master of Tribal Administration and Governance. This degree is designed to develop the knowledge needed to work as an administrator in tribal government. Plus, you'll learn about the principles of sovereignty, ethics, law, budgets, and leadership. And you can take all the courses online. To apply for the fall 2021 Master of Tribal Administration and Governance at Minnesota Duluth, visit umdmtag.org. That's umdmtag.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 32, Thursday sunny with a high near 63, Friday partly cloudy with a high near 55, and Saturday sunny with a high around 51. From the team behind Nightingale comes Lake City Sandwiches, a new delivery and pickup sandwich service in Minneapolis. It's a great option when you need a quick meal. Everything is made fresh daily, and they have vegan and vegetarian options along with soups and sides. Order pickup or delivery now at lakecitysandwiches.com.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm awake.
We are the Alusa Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice, and the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we are lucky again to have Robert Lilligren on for a short time here, and then up next, Robert Blake with the Solar News. What's next, Robert? What are we thinking here? What's next for us and in the corridor and the people that you're working with?
Yeah, from a Minneapolis perspective, it's a public safety, right? And since George Floyd was murdered last May, we've had this accelerated conversation, this sort of the defund the police movement on one hand, and certainly calls for police reform on the other. So we've already been kind of involved in this robust conversation for the last year. And now what's happened is that the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, has launched an investigation into the Minneapolis police to review their practices and to engage the community and hopefully come up with some reforms that will change the system.
Yeah, I know Hennepin County Sheriff Hutch has been on our show many times.
Sure.
And he talks about the mental stability of his workers and how he's really concerned about that and really wants to put that in the forefront. I think that, and also he got more people dealing with mental health issues for coming on the scene. So that's the right direction there. Let's hope we can double that effort.
I agree that law enforcement isn't always the response. Sometimes it's the worst response, right? If you have someone that's suffering some kind of mental health episode, they need very particular kinds of support. And so that's kind of the direction we've been heading here in Minneapolis, is to figure out a more comprehensive approach to community safety that doesn't rely on the police to do things that really might not be sort of in their bailiwick, right? And so hopefully with this Department of Justice investigation, this could be a year-long process or something. And in my time in sort of public life, we now be the third time that the Department of Justice has engaged in an investigation like this. They've been called in by the community after police misconduct, but this is the first time that from the top, from Merrick Garland, he's ordering this investigation. He's got these new Biden appointees, Gupta and Clark, Clark hasn't been appointed yet. Gupta just was on a pretty much party line vote. These are people who are deeply committed to civil rights, to justice, and I think we have more political will and awareness here that hopefully with the Department of Justice involvement here, we can really see significant and sustainable change.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Let's hope so. I really like that. I really like that. So before we let you go, do you got a couple more things you'd like to bring up before we bring in, I love to say it, Robert Lake from Red Lake?
Yeah, it's all the Robert Show. Just to let folks know, here in Minnesota, we have May is American Indian Month. We celebrate American Indian History Month in the fall as well. But here for May, this is a special month. It was an AIM initiative way back when to recognize this statewide. So there's lots that's going to be going on. Folks can pay attention. There's going to be an opening celebration on May 3rd at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. On May 5th, there will be a movement, MMIW or MMIR kind of action. And so kind of stay tuned. There's going to be a lot going on here in the Twin Cities in May.
Yeah, we're excited, and we're plugged in on that Native Roots Radio too. And I know there's big happenings on the 5th at the Capitol. There's a lot of things going on. So yeah, thank you, Peeny Gigi, for bringing that up. And again, thank you so much for being so flexible too, because we really enjoy you coming on and really with your information, and we really love it.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thanks, Robert, Wendy, Ogama. See you soon.
All right.
Thank you, Robert.
Hi, Juoni. We'll see you. Wow, that was
Goodbye
Robert.
to one Robert and hello to the next Robert.
That was Robert Lilligren of NADKI, Native American Community Development Center. Welcome, Bob Blake. This is the solar news with the Solar Bear, and we are really excited to see you as always. And we bled over a little bit in your segment, so we're 86ing part of Wendy's segment out, so you can just relax and take your time.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Thanks. Hey, thanks everyone for having me. Hey, Robert, I'll tell you what's going to happen though. All right. Is that, the Fed's coming in like this, right? The, MPD is going to be put probably under federal receivership. Okay. And kind of similar to what happened to Oakland PD, LAPD, and these things are about 5 to 10 years. Right. And, the other part about this, though, too, is what you need to think about, too, is that they're going to be here and they're going to be scrutinizing all of Minnesota law enforcement, because I have to remind you, the Beltrami County Sheriff's Department, their jail is under federal investigation, too, because they had those, we know that they had those deaths in the jail, right? So,
right.
And so, this isn't, this is something that, they're looking at like a systemic thing. And I would say, literally that that officer out there in Brooklyn Center probably sealed the deal on that to have, the feds look at everything.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And, your late great brother was a great cop in Minneapolis, and we always want to pay respect and remember him.
And I should tell everybody, that's how I know about all this. That's how I know how the whole system works, how it all goes down. And for a long time, obviously, you'd hear from the guys, the one thing that they're nervous about are the feds looking into things. So this is going to be very interesting, Robert. This is no joke. And I will sit there and I will say too, the Republican legislators, Gazelka and those guys, they need to be on notice, because they're also going to be looked at, because they're the ones that are holding up these reform laws, this reform legislation. So, I mean, hey man, hate to say it, but the Deep North is going to be being looked at under a microscope here now. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And we like to say the Deep North up north, but this is definitely the Deep North, like you said, Robert, and also it has been the occupied North.
Right, exactly. And so I'm just putting that out there, man. We can debate all this, everybody all they want, but this is the truth. So hey, let's get to some good renewable energy news, though.
Right on. Let's do it. Thank you.
All right. So listen, the first story here is that what I want to talk about is Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, right, is making a priority to with this American Jobs Plan, right, to get a bunch of jobs in tribal country. So he is really going to make this a priority around the infrastructure plan, and really wants to put a lot towards workforce development. And I'm going to be speaking with Ilhan Omar this Saturday, okay, at an event, and I am going to say something about this. So just let you all know that. So number 4, the next story here is the residential solar market, Robert, is poised to grow by 10% a year through 2021 to 2025, and add $6 billion to the economy. Is that cool or what?
That's what we need, right, Robert? Wow.
And I got another here. Deb Haaland is revoking the Trump orders on energy. So you know that the Trump administration put a lot of energy into, or a lot of policy around doing extractive practices, right? Like oil and natural gas and stuff. She went and she cut off all that. And so what I'm hoping Deb's going to do is turn tribal nations into renewable energy zones, RES. So that's my ask of Deb Haaland and the Department of the Interior.
Wow, that's a good way to put it. Yep, definitely. We all need to diversify and help our people. That would be perfect, Robert.
And I want to say another quick story about Deb Haaland. Deb created a climate task force for the Department of the Interior, Robert. So she's going to have an entire climate task force that is just going to be worried about climate change and stuff like that from an Interior, the department point of view, which is basically the government body that oversees tribal country, right? So I think that's awesome. And then my last story here is Amazon is doing 206 renewable energy projects worldwide. They're going to be 100% renewable by 2025, and they're going to be 5 years ahead of their plan, which they're trying to make it in 2030. So I hope that, that with all those savings and whatnot, that, Jeff Bezos and those guys will allow for unions to be created, and will also raise the pay of Amazon workers.
Yeah, exactly. And also pay some taxes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Like, seriously, if you're not going to let them create unions, if you're not going to raise their pay, and you're not going to pay taxes, come on, they're going to save millions, Robert. Billions of dollars by doing these renewable energy projects and saving all that money on energy. So, Jeff Bezos can handle it. He's the richest guy in the world.
Right. And he's retired, so he's kind of trying to be low key, but he's still a big stockholder in the original, I can't say that word, but he started the business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He still got a lot to say in what happens on the day-to-day operations. But I just want to say here, man, that, you know what? Let these guys form their unions and increase their pay. Come on. You know what I mean? You're going to be saving tons of money here. So, but anyways, good job on Amazon for going ahead and creating all those renewable energy projects. Because either way, we still have to worry about the climate. We still got to work. We still all got to live.
That's big time. And do you have time to bleed over to the next segment, and we can talk a little bit?
Absolutely. I don't want to take too much of Wendy's time though. So, but yes, I can.
to bleed over a little bit. And, go ahead, Wendy.
I already talked, so you go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, and also I want to talk a little bit about what can government do to really get a Green New Deal and solar and hemp and everything going. We want to talk a little bit about that. So we're going to hold over with Robert Blake from Solar Bear with the Solar News. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahare.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. All right.
Bob Blake got a hole in there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
It is. It's all our favorite. We love doing the howl.
We missed Uncle Curtis because he was good at it.
Yeah,
too.
he always did a good howl. So I just wanted to say something really quick here. Today, most of my day was spent calling people, asking them to call their House representatives, because tomorrow in Minnesota on the Senate floor, they are going to be introducing a bill that will make mandatory a wolf hunt here in Minnesota, and we must stop this.
Absolutely.
So you could make the call anytime you want. It could be midnight. Please call your House representative and just leave a message saying your name, your address, that you're a voting constituent and that you care about Minnesota wolves and you want them to vote no on any bill that says anything about killing our wolves here in Minnesota. So if everyone could just make that phone call, just leave them a message. The legislative assistant will take all the calls and tally up those numbers. And when they see all the phone calls, your U.S. representative will have to take notice. So
yeah,
that's all I want to say. Please call your House rep.
That's awesome. And Yeah, that's awesome, and it's not awesome. And we always remind everyone before we get to back to Robert. We
Mm-hmm.
always remind everyone that the lieutenant governor is from the Wolf Clan,
Yep.
and she's been on the show and said
Mm-hmm.
that she does not appreciate that these are relatives of hers.
Yeah, it
And
says it
as,
hurts her heart when a wolf is killed. A trophy hunter kills a wolf. It's like
right,
killing a family member.
right. In Wisconsin, as you know, we're in Wisconsin too, and they had their whole rigmarole going on there
Mm-hmm.
with
They had a
the hunt.
bloodbath, a
Yeah,
wolf
like
hunt, which was a bloodbath. They killed 216 wolves in 3 days.
yeah,
So
right.
give
Well,
your rep a call, please.
thank you again, Wendy. That's really important information. Now, back to Robert Blake and with Solar Bear and the Solar Bear News. And I wanted to talk to Robert, Wendy, a little bit about how can the government, because we always talk about FDR and how he got people back to work
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And we had all these bridges and everything made
Mm-hmm.
because from the top down, Franklin Delano Roosevelt saw the vision and how to get people back to work. Robert, how can we push our representatives, our politicians to see that?
Well, I mean, 20 million union jobs, Robert. 20 million union jobs is what we're talking about. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about on Saturday with Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is I'm going to talk about what we need is a green energy transition jobs fund. And we need to advertise it as such. So people know that we have a plan, for people to transition out of these old fossil fuel jobs, building pipelines, these things that, are just, not good for the environment, and that we have a way for them and a fund for them set aside and money set aside where they're going to be being, helped transitioning into the new green economy. And so that's what we have to do. And but let's make no mistake, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the future president of this of the country,
Right.
and Ed Markey, they went ahead and they put it out on the floor yesterday, right, in Washington,
Yep.
the new Green Deal. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what they're proposing. We don't have to make a choice between the environment and the economy. We can push the economy and the environment forward together. And that's what people need to hear and people need to understand. And that's what we're going to be doing on Saturday, talking about this.
That's a great, and that's a good analogy. Is like we'd still be using horses and carriages if we didn't check to the next economy, which was automobiles and gasoline, and now we're segue into a more a better economy.
Exactly. I mean, people still used candles while they were developing electricity. It's the same. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's a really good analogy.
Exactly. You think about the printing press, right? You think about when we first invented fire. You think about how how power has always transitioned the human race forward. It's not any different right now with renewable energy, and this is the change that we're going to be going through right now. We have over 100,000 terawatts that hit the world each day. We need to we use 17 around the world. We need 14 terawatts of renewable energy, about the size of Rhode Island, is what we need, Robert, to put around the world to avoid a climate catastrophe of 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. We can do this, people. We can do this.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to say, if you have one last thing to say before we let you go, but I really appreciate you holding on a little longer and talking a little bit about that, Robert.
Yeah. I want to just make, what, Robert, we're nothing without our fans. So I just want to send a big shout out to Bruce Konerko over there at the Cooperative Energy Futures. This is a great organization. They do a lot of community solar in the community, and they're just great people. And then I also want to say to you too that Chima Ingen, the big wolf, is your friend, your childhood friend, Bill Blake's name. And yes, no way. The wolves are our relatives, and that'd be like we were, hurting one of our relatives, and that was your good friend Bill's name, Chima Ingen.
Peanut Gigi. Wow, that really hits me.
That. I'm gonna
Thank you so
cry.
much. Yeah. Thank you, Robert, for being on, and have a great day. And we'll see you next week. And happy Earth Day. Really, thank you for that. Wow, I'm gonna cry. That was.
I know. My gosh, I have tears in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, that's we love having Robert Blake on, and
again, everyone, we need to stop the wolf hunt. So please just call your U.S. rep. You can go on, just Google who is my representative. If you don't know, you put in your zip code and your address, and voila, your U.S. rep comes right up. You just give them a call. You could do it right now. You could do it at midnight. You could do it at 3 a.m. Doesn't matter.
Hey, I was on the Devil's Advocate today, Wendy, and we talked about what we're going to be doing tomorrow. I'm going to ask Ogama to spit out who's all going to be on in a second. But one of the things I did mention on the Devil's Advocate in Madison was that if we did Meatless Monday, what that would do for protecting water, animals, and our environment.
Yeah, absolutely. CO2 gases would go way down, and we could protect the water because it takes gallons and gallons and gallons of water to produce one hamburger. And if everyone did a meatless Monday, it could change everything. It really could. So try a meatless Monday and then call your rep.
All right. Hey, Ogama, can you give the lineup for tomorrow's 2-hour commercial-free spectacle here on AM 950 and the Devil Radio and all over Turtle Island?
Commercial-free spectacle. I love it. Yes, we're going to have the Indigo Girls, Annie Humphrey, Corey Medina, Chastity Brown, Winona LaDuke is going to come speak, Don Goodwin, a couple of other water protectors, Shania Matson, and Tanya Abed. We're going to have Chairman Mike Wiggins of the Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. It's going to be hosted by you and Paul Demain, who was actually just on with Melissa Olson today talking about Native issues on another channel as well. So make sure you check Native Roots Radio to get a link for that where Paul was on today too.
Oh, should I feel like cheated on that Paul was on her show? Hopefully not. I'll talk to him tomorrow about that. I would like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to this show, you are a part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to mask up, resist, divest, join a group, run for office. The revolution is kicking in a high gear, and I want to thank Robert Lilligren, Robert Blake, Robert Pilot, Wendy Pilot, and Ogama for all their great work. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, the morality of algorithms.
Machine learning algorithms are all around us these days.